Yo guys, what's up? It's been a long time since I made a video, so I thought that I'd jump back into it. Finally, it's been a long time after a lot of, laziness. I finally brought my camera to my house so I can make these videos and just kind of talk. But the first thing I want to talk about is what I like to call the 1320 issue. Not very many people talk about this or realize this, but I like 1320 video. I watch most of your videos. I have nothing to say, nothing bad about them. If you guys didn't know, I actually used to edit for 1320 video back in 2014. I only did like 3 videos. This was between the time that I was transitioning between Omaha and Tulsa, and it ended up that I didn't have enough time to actually edit videos. But in my opinion, 1320 video and all these big YouTube channels that are showing street racing and all these cars that are being built have honestly ruined the societal expectation of how cars are built. They've ruined the way that people view cars and things like that. So I have 3 different perspectives I want to talk to you about from, and we can kind of go from there. So a lot of my guys, a lot of my audience knows the Rotary, obviously, people, since I came from RX-7. I made this channel about RX-7 originally, so I'll use an RX-7 as an example. Owning an FD is one of the most annoying things in the world, only because of people that approach you and ask questions. And what I mean by that is a lot of people will jump on YouTube. They'll see people like Rob Dahm, they'll see Formula 7 like David Mazzei, and they'll see these 4-rotor cars, they'll see these 3-rotor cars, they'll see these giant turbo cars and go, man, is your, like, and if you're an RX-7 or you've gone through this, people go, hey, is that car a 3-rotor or a 4-rotor? And you just go, do you even have any idea what it takes to do any of those cars? That's why I made the video back in the day called the top what it takes to do a 20B. A lot of people think that the 3-rotor 4-rotor is an easy swap, and it's not. They don't realize that these 4-rotor cars are $100,000 setups, and the 3-rotor cars, I mean, they're $20,000 to $50,000 setups as well. These are big money setups. So everyone thinks, because they saw on the internet that everyone does it and it's a common swap, and it's not true. When people see, if you're a Super owner, you probably get, hey, does your Super make 1,000 horsepower? If you're a GTR owner, hey, does your GTR have 1,000 horsepower? Like, it's a common thing, and the reason this goes back to it is because people are seeing these videos on the internet of these cars making power. Zero disrespect to people who are doing this, because it is an incredible feat. The problem is that it is now so easily accessible to see people doing this, whereas back in the day it was you hunted through forums and you kind of found people. If you're in the community, you knew, but then like you didn't have very much cross section between communities knowing who was doing what. So it wasn't like you didn't have a million people seeing a video of 1,000 horsepower GTR racing 1,000 horsepower UGR Lambo and then going, wow, all these cars make 1,000 horsepower, there's a ton of them. Or people like to speak from like, it's the same, basically the way I can explain it is the same complex in people's heads when they go, well, my friend has a car that goes this fast. They take that same mindset and then apply it to every car they've seen on the internet, if that makes sense. So they'll go, I saw this 4-rotor car. Hey, do you have a 4-rotor car? Because I saw this guy did a 4-rotor car. You should do a 4-rotor car too. And it's like, you have no idea. People don't respect. The overarching thing is that people don't respect the process, and I think that's the main issue with what these big channels show, is to show these big power cars. And yes, after someone builds a car like this, it's amazing to show it off on a giant platform. I understand it 100%. I get it. The big problem is that people that watch this and only consume it but don't actually take it and build their own stuff, they just see this and then that is their expectation every time they see a car. Hey man, I saw this 4,000 horsepower, whatever. Hey man, I saw this 4-rotor RX-7. Hey man, I saw this 1,000 horsepower GTR, and you're just like, I don't give a shit. But they tell you anyway, and that's like the worst part about it. So they've changed their expectation society of how cars should work. And the big thing is, that's from the performance, that's from a car owner perspective. From a shop perspective, as someone that works as someone that takes calls and helps people out with their cars and stuff, one of the most annoying ones, not necessarily annoying, I don't mean to sound like condescending or anything, but a lot of people will say things like, hey, I want to build a 900,000 horsepower, we'll say Civic. I want to build a 1,000 horsepower Civic. And then my first reply is always, have you ever driven a 500 horsepower Civic? Have you ever driven a 400 horsepower Civic? Most of the times, I'll say about 90% of the times, the answer is usually no. And when I tell people this, I go, look, I think our best course of action is let's build a 400, 500 horsepower car first so you can get your feet wet and kind of learn, and then go from there, because that 1,000 horsepower level is completely, it's another realm. It takes another type of human being to drive that. And what happens is, as people build cars, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this with your friends on Facebook and stuff, when they build cars, people get seduced by the idea of building a car. That's how people get trapped in the perpetual build stage, where all they do is they build cars and they build this romantic idea in their head of what their car is going to be like, because the cars they've seen on the internet, they go, this is going to be really cool, whatever. And then a lot of times, and we see it regularly, people will build and finish their 600, 700, 800, 900 horsepower cars, take it on the street one time, and then they'll sell the car like immediately, because it doesn't match their expectations. They can't handle it. It's a whole different thing. So I'm going to say to all you guys that are kind of new, we haven't necessarily built a car, the biggest thing that I'm going to say is you all need to respect the process and understand that you don't need the highest horsepower car in the world to have fun. And I'm going to use another example of that in a second, but horsepower doesn't mean everything, because the biggest thing that matters is experience. Experience trumps power almost any day of the week. Driving skill, experience, it destroys everything. Like, it's unbelievable how big of a difference this thing makes. If you learn on a 300 horsepower car, you can translate those skills to a 400, 500, 600, 700, 800 horsepower car. If you start an 800 horsepower car, the learning curve is so steep that it's prohibitive to your own self-growth. So if you start in a 1,000 horsepower car and you think you're going to jump in that car and figure it out, you're not. It's honestly like trying to play, I don't know, like an easy one would be like Dance Dance Revolution, like an extreme difficulty level. You're going to watch it and go, I can't even adjust this. It's so high level skill that it's something you really can't adjust to, unless you have one of these newer cars and that kind of drives itself. But like, if we're talking about a 5-speed 6-shift car, you're not going to learn how to drive on a 1,000 horsepower car very easily. It's honestly just not something that happens. I highly suggest, if you're going to do something like this, start with a lower horsepower car and translate those skills up. A lot of people try to start from the top. It doesn't work like that. It's the same thing. Like, if you think of any skill, think of what job you do, or think of anyone that can do things. For instance, my example, I'm a photographer, a videographer. A lot of people message me and say, hey, I want the best camera that I can possibly get. And I'm just like, just use whatever camera you have, and you'll learn the skills and find your limitations and then adapt to that. You don't need the best gear to start. You just need something that works to start, and then you build up from there. That's the easiest way to build the skills, because ultimately, if you play sports or anything, it's about building those core fundamentals first, and then you can add and adapt to them. So that's the biggest thing I want to say, because honestly, all these people see these big horsepower cars and they think that's what they're going to do. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I want to go into the example and kind of explain what I mean by experience trumps everything. So, huge fan of BoostedBoiz. That's one of my, it honestly is my favorite YouTube channel. It's the only automotive one I watch. I don't watch anything else other than BoostedBoiz, and occasionally 1320Video if I want to watch something. Kyle at BoostedBoiz has a 700 horsepower H22 swapped EK hatchback. The car usually runs probably mid 600 horsepower range, and he ran 10s for the longest time. And he did run his 9 out in Florida recently, or it was Houston, whatever. He ran a 9 recently for the first time, and that was going to redo the entire build now. But basically, he was building a car, and he'd been at 600 something horsepower for years, and never ran a 9 ever. And a 9-second in a 600 horsepower car should be pretty easily attainable. And the reason is because he was building his skills and learning how to set up launch control, 2-step, learning the driving. The driving part of it's the biggest part. Learning how to drive that car and get it down the track A to B, learning all the mechanical sides, make sure everything works every time. That is learning the experience. As he learned, the car got faster and faster and faster. Like Brent says in one of the videos, it's like once you hit a 9, you can keep doing it over and over and over again. And the reason because of that is because you're adapting your body, you're learning the skills, and you're doing things. Like I said, you got to respect the process. He was braking, learning, building, repeating all that stuff, and figuring it out. You go farther than that, the shop workout's called Humble Performance. Alex Pagan, the owner, built a single cam Civic, which is it's a 1.6 liter engine if you guys know Hondas, versus 2.2 liter, which like Kyle has, or 1.8 like Justin has a single cam, which is notoriously not a powerful engine, makes 450 horsepower and runs a 10.0. And he didn't run a 10.0 because he has 600 plus horsepower. He didn't run a 10.0 because his setup was correct or anything like that. Obviously, it's a combination of these things. He ran it purely on driver skill. The car is set up correctly, the launch correctly, didn't have boost control, boost by gear, anything like that. It was pure skill. This was in 2009 he did this, so there was a whole bunch of things that people don't have nowadays. Didn't have boost by gear, didn't have traction control, didn't have any of that stuff. Ran a 10.0, and that comes down to Alex had been in the game for 9 years, basically doing what Kyle had been doing for 2 years and learning what works and what doesn't work. So that's what you're seeing is the difference between 2 years versus 9 years. Like I said, the biggest thing that you're going to see is experience trumps everything. Experience trumps literally everything, and that's what people aren't getting. They don't understand, and I contribute that purely to what I call, like I said, the 1320 video effect. That's not knocking 1320 video. That's just the way that everyone perceives things. They think if I have a 1,000 horsepower car, I'm going to go 10s, I'm going to go 9s, I'm going to go this. And realistically, the fact is that you won't, because experience is the biggest thing you need to learn. So hopefully you guys took something from that. I just thought I'd sit down and have a quick little video and start making more videos like this. If you like this, let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think I should talk about next? Have you guys experienced this in your own life? Let me know. If I miss, if I'm off the mark, let me know. I honestly, I'll read your comments and everything. But hopefully you guys like this video. If you didn't, let me know. That's cool. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.